Before I do anything, I want you to know that, as Sherry said, I'm from Trinidad, and I am so grateful to have come to the United States in 1967. When you talk about we're having hard times now, we were having hard times in 1967. And most of you weren't born in 1967, but 1967 was a very, very, very rough year. But I came to the United States because I had absolute faith in this country. I'm writing a book about Nina Simone. My first job in the United States was with Nina Simone, the singer, and some of you are probably old enough to remember that diva of a singer who sang Mississippi Goddamn. And when she said Mississippi Goddamn, you know Mississippi was goddamn. And to be young, gifted, and black. Some of you remember that? Fabulous singer. She hired me. She was one of the persons who hired me, my first job actually, in the United States. And through her I met Langston Hughes just a few months before he died. But I remember going up to my first day at the job with Nina Simone, and there was an African-American woman in the train. I didn't know that I was supposed to call her an African-American woman. I learned that blackness counts in this country much later. But anyway, she was asking me where I was from, and I told her I'd come from Trinidad, and she said, "What the hell are you coming to this country for? Don't you know what they do to black people in this country? Don't you know the hard times black people are having in this country? Why would you want to leave your island home and come here?" Because her vision, her image of my island was that probably I sit under a coconut tree, you know, on the beach and sip coconut and rum and Coca-Cola and that kind of stuff. And she couldn't understand why I would come to the United States when so many people were having such a hard time. And I wish that when I talk about my early years in the United States and really why I came, that a few of the words would somehow light upon that woman so she would come to understand that I came because I had a lot of faith in this country. We are having hard times now. We are having hard times now. Where I live down in Charlotte, North Carolina, we were overbuilt. Too many houses, too many people who couldn't pay the mortgages. So a lot of the communities are sliding into despair. We're having a rough time, but we've been through worse, and I have faith in this country. I have faith in the people who are leading this country. I have faith in Americans that we are going to get through these days. And so I'm very pleased that you're here to hear me read a little bit about some people in other places who are having hard times. I think I'll read from the collection of short stories that's coming out this week in praise of island women and other crimes. And the other crimes really have to do with the hard times that a lot of women in islands experience. I want to say, though, that I would not be standing here before you. I would not have even met Sherry Reynolds and had the wonderful pleasure of reading her work. I would not be here. I would not even be a writer today were it not for all the wonderful writers who've gone before me, who had a hard time. I think of Zora Neale Hurston dying poor. I think of so many writers who looked like me and who really never had an opportunity to get their work published, to come to Old Dominion University and to meet so many wonderful young people, so many people who are interested in writing. And so I stand with grace in their place. Janet Perry, whom I want to thank so very much for inviting me, and of course Sherry Reynolds. Janet asked me a minute ago if this was okay, if this is all I wanted to drink, and I said, she thought I said jokingly, rum would do. And it would have been nice to have some rum, but I know we're at a school. I say rum because I think the spirits that I pay attention to like a little bit of rum about 2 o'clock You know, 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. They like a little tip of rum. So I don't have rum, so I just want to sprinkle a little bit. I hope I wet a T-shirt so they can give it to me afterwards. I just want to sprinkle it and let the spirits know that I stand here in their grace. I stand here because they existed. I stand here because they survived. And I am absolutely pleased to do something that would please them, because in my youth I did a hell of a lot of stuff that probably didn't please them. So I'm going to read a story called, it's a very, very short story. It's called The Girl from Bahia. And I have to tell you why I'm going to read this story. There's a story within a story here. A few years ago, God, it seems like a few years ago, I was a student at University of Michigan, and about a week after I had graduated with a PhD, I got a call from a friend in Trinidad. Now, this friend was a man with whom I'd been in love for many, many, many years when I was a kid. He used to drive trucks, and he used to park his trucks in my mother's yard. And I used to lean out the window, oh God, when he drove the truck into the yard. And it was like I would be salivating with desire for my friend. But he was stupid enough to ignore me and went on and married a woman who was smart enough to leave him some years later. And then a week or so after I got this PhD, I got a call from him. I'm in Ann Arbor, he's still in Trinidad, right? And he said to me, would you meet me in Brazil? Would you meet me in Rio? And I said, yes. Now, I hadn't heard from him for a while. And my mother is listening to the conversation. She said, who is that? What are you saying yes to? And I said, it's Blakey. And she'd always known I was quietly in love with him. And he wants me to meet him in Rio. She said, and you said yes, and you don't even know why he wants you to meet him there? I said, I don't care, I'm going. Because by then I knew he was divorced, you know, so was I. I had been writing a dissertation. I had had no intimacy for years. I really was, you know, and all those old dreams and desires were resurrected, yes? And when a man calls you and says, meet him in Rio, you're going to say no? I think not. So it turns out what he wanted me to do was to come to Rio to help him buy some equipment for his trucks. Yes, yes, because he thought since I had a PhD from University of Michigan, I must be able to speak Portuguese. Everybody with a PhD knows how to speak Portuguese, right? And my mother had sent word down to Trinidad. She was boasting that I was a doctor. People were asking me medical questions too, by the way. So, of course, I didn't tell him I couldn't speak Portuguese. I said, yes, I will come down to Rio. I will meet you in Rio, and I will help you buy the equipment. Because the equipment was cheaper in Rio than it would be in Trinidad or in the United States if he had come up. So I got my little Berlitz book, learned as much Portuguese as I could, and 2 weeks later I met him in Rio. Oh my Lord, I had dreams. All these pent-up emotions, all these years, I'm waiting, you know, I'm thinking. So, and then when he told me, I met him at the airport because we got there early. He flew up from Trinidad. When he told me that we were going to stay at a hotel on the beach, Copacabana, I thought, oh my Lord, the girl from Ipanema. Because the images of the girl from Ipanema, soft and lovely, young and tender, that girl from Ipanema goes walking, and you know what she's walking and looking for. And all these images kept, and I thought, something is going to happen. Faith is on my side. We went to the hotel, and up at the desk, he asked for 2 rooms. I thought, well, maybe they have a connecting door. Turns out they did not have a connecting door. And I was getting increasingly disappointed. We went upstairs. He handed me an envelope with a long list and full of money. And he said, here is the list of what I want you to do, what I want you to buy for me. I'm going to go to sleep. I haven't slept in 3 days. I am exhausted. That guy went into that room, and I did not see him again until it was time to go to the airport 3 days later. Huge disappointment, huge disappointment. So remember, we arrived in Rio early, so I have time. I'm so all keyed up, all pent up, you know, with all this disappointment. I went out and I got every single thing that he needed on that list that first day. So here I am with 2 days on my hands in Rio, no love stuff gonna go on. What am I going to do? I said to myself, I'm going to go walk around Rio to see the sights. But I also thought, you know what? I'm going to go find me some black people. I had heard that in Brazil there were more black people than anywhere else in the Western Hemisphere. And I was quite intrigued with African religion. And I knew that in Brazil, people still practiced African religions. And I thought if I could meet some people, some black, really dark-skinned people, because I had this image in my head that the really dark-skinned people were not the diluted people, right, like me probably, and they would be more involved with the religion. And that somebody would take me to a religious ceremony, and my curiosity would be satisfied. Well, I walked around Rio the first day, and the only person I met was a young man, a Danish young man who was a guide, and he said that Ozzy Osbourne, you know, the crazy, he said Ozzy Osbourne was singing at a huge festival, and maybe I would want a ticket to go. And I thought, okay, I'm disappointed about the sex, so maybe I could go see Ozzy Osbourne, who has a reputation for biting the heads off bats. So I bought a ticket and went to the Ozzy Osbourne. I'm getting to the story. I'll read it in a minute. It's pretty short. I went to the Ozzy Osbourne concert. Al Jarreau was there, wonderful. Ozzy Osbourne did a lot of fire, a lot of pyrotechnics, no bats. Second big disappointment in Rio. So I said, you know, I have one more day. God has to be on my side. He didn't bring me all the way to Rio to disappoint me fully, right? So my last afternoon, I'm standing outside this church, and there's a political rally going on, and people are saying all kinds of things that I have no idea what they're saying, very much like what's happening in the United States these days. But they're saying all kinds of things, and I don't know what they're saying, but I like the rhythm, you know? I like the sound. By now, I've put away my Berlitz book, right? Because I'm just walking by myself. And out of the corner of my eye, I see coming toward me the very person that I had imagined. Coming toward me, walking fast like this African-looking woman, very dark-skinned, walking very fast. Her clothes is started, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to say to her? I'm trying now to construct a sentence in Portuguese, right? The words won't come. She came up to me like this. She did this. She said something to me, and the saliva flew out of her mouth and hit me in my face, and I jerked back like that. And she looked at me, and the look on her face, I was so embarrassed. It was as if I was hurt. I think she was hurt at the look on my face, but I was reacting to the spittle. I wasn't really reacting to her. And she did that again, and she spat on the ground, and she stomped off. I cannot tell you how disturbed I was, because here the fates had given me the very person I wanted to meet. And first of all, I couldn't conjure up the language. You must take languages, students. You must take foreign language. You must become expert in 2 or 3 languages. Because those people over there, they can speak English. Those people in Kazakhstan and Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, where I go all the time, they can speak English. And we can't speak their languages, so we need to learn languages. But let me just quit being a teacher and get back.